समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या? समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.
Hello and welcome to ThePrint. I'm Snehesh Alex Philip. It has been 1 year since Operation Sindoor. 88 hours. That's all it took. Yet what unfolded in those 88 hours was not just another limited conflict between India and Pakistan. It was something far more consequential, a glimpse into the future of warfare in the subcontinent. Because step back and a deeper reality emerges. Something fundamental has shifted, not just in how India and Pakistan fight, but in how they consciously avoid fighting. Operation Sindhu was not merely an operation, it was a window into a transformation in the very logic of war under a nuclear overhang. For decades, the template of India Pakistan conflict was familiar: mass mobilization, armored thrust, and the pursuit of decisive battlefield outcomes. That template has not disappeared entirely, but it has been decisively displaced from the center of gravity. What is emerging instead is a model defined by precision, speed, and control. Not control of territory, but control of escalation. At the heart of this shift lies the rise of long range standoff strike capability. Air delivered systems such as the BrahMos, Scalp, Rampage, and the Spice series, alongside land based assets like the Pinaka, have redrawn the battle space. Range now substitute for mass. Effects can be generated deep inside adversary territory without the visible crossing of borders that once defined escalation thresholds. Operation Sindhu underscored a stark reality. India's conventional strike capabilities can, in principle, reach across Pakistan's depth with precision. Geography is no longer passive, it actively shapes vulnerability and resilience. Op Sindoor has shown that Indian missiles, and I mean conventional, can reach and hit any target in Pakistan at will. Pakistan may find itself in a geographical sweet spot that has enabled it to milk assistance for decades from Western powers, but lacks the depth it needs to have a credible safety point, unlike India. But long range strike is not merely technological, it is strategic. Distance creates political maneuvering room. It allows force to be applied while preserving ambiguity, enabling calibrated signaling instead of open ended confrontation. Yet, distance does not eliminate risk, it redistributes it. Retaliation may be delayed, asymmetric, or domain shifted, but it remains inevitable. What makes this model viable is not just weapons, but how seamlessly the services operate together. Precision, speed, and escalation control are impossible without deep joiners. Long range strikes require Air Force platforms for delivery, Army assets for sustained firepower, Navy based surveillance, and potential sea based deterrence, integrated intelligence from multiple domains, all infused into a single operational picture. And that is where joiners moves from slogan to necessity. In a compressed battle space, targeting must be shared across services in real time. Air defenses must be integrated, not layered in silos. ISR inputs must flow seamlessly across commands. Without joiners, the C for ISR, that is a command, control, communications, computers, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, collapses into fragmentation. Without joiners, speed becomes confusion. Without joiners, escalation control becomes unreliable. The push towards theater commands and integrated planning structure is therefore not administrative reform. It is a precondition for fighting and winning in this new scenario. In this evolving framework, the idea that defense is the first offense acquires real meaning. Integrated air defense systems, particularly platforms like the S-400, are no longer passive shields. They are strategic instruments. By constraining the adversary's retaliation options from the outset, they shape decision making even before conflict begins. Denial becomes deterrence. But crucially, this denial only works if sensors, shooters, and decision makers across the services are fully integrated. Another layer where joiners becomes decisive. If earlier wars were decided by the side that could bring more firepower to bear, future contests will favor the side that can compress time. The sensor to shooter loop is shrinking dramatically. Targets are increasingly pre identified, validated, and logged in advance. Political directives are being shortened, operational friction reduced, and response windows narrowed to hours, if not minutes. But speed is a double edged sword. It enhances responsiveness, but it also compresses deliberation. In a nuclearized environment where miscalculation carries existential risk, the ability to act fast must be matched with the discipline to know when not to act. Compounding this transformation is the radical transparency of the modern battle space. The proliferation of commercial satellites, open source intelligence networks, and real time digital dissemination means that the military operations can no longer be concealed in the way they once were. The fog of war has thinned. What remains is the contest over interpretation. And this is where narrative building becomes an extension of operations. International journalists, geolocated imagery, and instantaneous analysis ensure that every strike is followed by a battle over its meaning. Success is no longer defined solely by what is hit, but how it is perceived domestically, internationally, and by the adversary. If the story is not shaped quickly, it is shaped by others. And another important lesson from Op Sindoor is that loitering munitions and drones are lowering the thresholds. It is cheaper, deniable, persistent. They enable continuous low intensity engagement below the threshold of a full war. This creates a gray zone of sustained competition where conflict is going but controlled. Precision warfare also demands industrial capacity. Stockpiles, production lines, and indigenous systems determine sustainability. And this is something that India really needs to focus on. Because without scale, even the most precise strategy collapses under its own weight. Another important lesson is that tanks and large formations are not obsolete, but they're no longer central. They anchor escalation credibility. They ensure the shadow of full scale war remains real, but they're no longer the first move. One of the most important lessons of Op Sindoor that the world also needs to learn is that termination is now the most complex phase. Every strike must be calibrated not just for the impact but for exit. Clear political objectives, signaling coherence, and control posture are essential. Without termination control, escalation becomes uncontrollable. War is a loop enabled by jointness. What emerges is the new grammar of conflict: detect, decide, strike, defend, shape the narrative, terminate, repeat if necessary. But this loop only functions if the system behind is joint, integrated, and seamless. Fragmented forces cannot execute controlled escalation. Integrated forces can. The lesson of Op Sindoor is not just about new tools or tactics, it is about a new way of thinking. Victory is no longer territorial, it is behavioral. It lies in shaping adversary choices, maintaining escalation dominance, and applying force with precision and restraint. In this emerging paradigm, power is no longer measured by how much force can be unleashed. It is measured by how precisely it can be controlled. And that control ultimately rests on one foundation: join us. This is Snehesh Alex Philip, and for more such videos, subscribe to the Print's YouTube channel.